I've told lots of people over the years that my spiritual path was a path of failure, but only consistently, And very rarely have I ever had a room light up when I've said that. You can say things that will light a room up, and that you just know people love to hear it. They're like, yes, this is important for me. But when I share that my path was a path of spiritual failure, the room never lights up. If anything, it stays neutral on a good day. Usually it kind of, the energy starts to tank a little bit, But nonetheless, I'm kind of persistent, for some odd reason. And yet, because it's such an important aspect of all of this, right? There's such an important aspect is that what I mean by my path was the path of failure didn't mean that I set out to have that be the path. Quite the opposite. I think in some way, like most people, I was trying to succeed at it, get relatively good at it, have some insights along the way. But all the little ways that the me was strategizing, all the little ways, not just the big ways. It's not so difficult to see the big ways that the me is organized to be in a constant negotiation with the moment, right, with life. Constant. It's like playing a game of chess with yourself. There's a part of yourself that never wants to be checkmated, right? It's terrified of ever getting put in a corner and life goes, checkmate, there's no move for you. Sorry. Of course, that's the one certainty about life, right? Is that everybody gets checkmated. Right? If you're lucky enough not to get checkmated before death, don't worry, you won't get out of here without having that experience, you'll be checkmated. But do you know what I mean, really? That little, whatever you want to call it, that little movement, whether we call it self or me or whatever we want to call it, but that movement that's all forever trying to not be checkmated. Because the checkmate terrifies it. I don't want to encounter something where my options run out. And of course, there's lots of ways that can happen in life. I'm sure many of you have been through your own versions of being checkmated, right? You have a death, a loss, an addiction, an illness. The list goes on and on and on of what ways that life kind of checkmated us. But spiritually, that's what I mean when I say it was the path of failure was that little thing that was always trying to succeed, even though, of course, if you've gotten the spiritual terminology down, you don't say that to anybody. You don't say, I'm trying to succeed, because it doesn't sound spiritually advanced, I'm letting go. Okay. And why are you letting go? Oops, because I'm trying to succeed, right? Because I know if I let go, I will have attained some advantage, right? Right? So I'm talking about the subtle stuff, not just the overt, ways of trying to control everybody and everything around you, but the subtle little ways. Meditation's good at showing you that, right? It's like a mirror. And, for a long time we try to control what we see in the mirror, right? I'm thinking, I don't want to think so much. I don't want to feel what I feel. I don't want to, tell me what to do so I can manage my experience better. And there's a time and a place for that. That's where to approach it from that viewpoint is absolutely legitimate and even necessary at times, right? But I'm talking about something deeper, farther down the road. Because if we're going to talk about freedom, freedom is not the me attaining an experience of freedom. Freedom is that movement that's strategizing to never be checkmated, to attain or something. that movement ceases. That's what Buddha called nirvana, which means cessation. And the image that he uses is like when you blow out the flame of a candle. Something ceases. And he equated that with nirvana. Kind of for the most people's minds, it's an odd thing to equate something that sounds so negative with something that seems like the ultimate positive. Right? So in essence, he was saying that at some point I let myself be checkmated. Life organized itself, and all of a sudden, that which was trying to strategize, it's not actually that which is trying to strategize, because that which is trying to strategize is only the strategizing. Does that make sense? In other words, there is no self that's holding on. There's just holding on. There is no self that lets go. There's just letting go. That's why people have such a hard time finding themselves when they're asked to do so. Right? You would think that finding yourself would be the easiest thing for you to find, wouldn't you? Like, who are you? Well, glad that you asked, actually. You mean the thing I talk about every single sentence, pretty much, right? Me. Well, I have that. I know exactly what that is until, oops, I don't know, actually. It's funny how something that can seem so pivotal and obvious and an intimate part of every moment of life, it seems so solid and real right up until the moment that you actually try to find its solidity and its reality. And then it's like, where is the thing that's trying to hold on? Where is the thing that's trying to let go? Where is the thing that had yesterday's insight? Where is the thing that wants to perpetuate it or hold on to it? Where is that? What is that? Why is it that I can't find the very thing that should be the easiest thing for me to find in the whole universe? What do we talk about more than ourselves? How many times do you say I in a given day? I mean, you would think it would be the easiest possible thing to find. That's the perplexing nature about sort of looking within. So today's talk is a little deeper form of spirituality, right? Because there's not a whole lot of strategy that I'm giving you. I give plenty of strategy, but you came to the wrong day. Or maybe I'm actually giving a great strategy. I'm not sure. There's a point where it all sort of comes together, right? So when I say that my spiritual path was the path of failure, I didn't mean that there weren't moments of what seemed like great success, great insights, maybe even a few awakenings along the way, right? But in the end, what was more liberating than all of that is having that which we call a self or a me, which is really simply a process, right? It's a process, it's a movement. Be checkmated. When it checkmates means it can't immediately turn into some other form that you won't notice. Does that make sense? You know how so much in our psychology is like, I would think of the ego as a shapeshifter, right? You get onto it one form, And the ego goes, well, that's no problem whatsoever. I'll just come up in this other form that you won't notice quite so fast, right? And then you see it in that form. You think, wow, I'm really getting somewhere. And then it goes, no problem whatsoever. We'll just come over in this other form, right? So it shifts shapes all the time. It's very mercurial, right? Because after all, it's a process. It's not a thing. It's a psychological process. Psychological and biological, too.